Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. For those who don't know me, my name is Mark. Professionally, I'm a lifestyle financial planner. I typically work with women in finance and their families, helping them understand what their money can do for them. Personally, I'm married to my beautiful wife, Nicole. We've got two amazing children, Luke and Sephora. And my family is my purpose. They are the reason I do what I do every day. And we are on our own journey to building our best lives together. And I feel super blessed that I get to do the same thing for my clients, help them in this regard to live their best lives. Our guest this morning is Johan Earthdayson. Professionally, Johan is a Gallup certified strengths coach, a results certified coach with the Neuro Leadership Institute, and is an associate certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. It's quite a mouthful, Johan. You seem to have ticked all the coaching boxes. After figuring out how to unlock his greatest potential through his own strengths journey, Johan knew he had to do for others what he had already done for himself. As you will learn, Johan's top 5 strengths are maximizer, relator, strategic, individualization, and ideation. But we'll touch more on that a little later. Personally, Johan, as you can see, he's a little bit older than I am. He's got three children and 3 grandchildren as well, which keep him busy and on his toes. He loves the bush and is a big believer in taking small, frequent holidays in order to keep the body and mind healthy and rejuvenated. Johan's also got a knack for collecting things, stamps, butterflies, model cars. And if you work with him, you'll see he also likes to collect information. Johan's literally got an article on almost every single topic out there. Often him and I will be chatting. I'll mention something to him, and the next day my inbox is flooded, literally flooded with information from him. This is attributed to his input and learner talents at work as well. Just some housekeeping. We'd like to keep the webinar very informal. Welcome all questions at any point. We're going to have 2 poll questions just to get a feel for the audience. We invite you to please participate and send through any thoughts or questions you may have in the Q&A. We'll pop some info up in the chat section. We will be giving away a complimentary access code to take the Clifton Strengths Assessment, as well as the session with Johan, so you can unpack what the Strengths Assessment actually means to you. And the winner of that code will be chosen based on whoever engages the most. So please engage, people. The better the engagement, the better the session will be. Just to recap, the purpose of today's webinar is to introduce you to the Gallup Strengths Finder, show you how to take charge of your life and career by operating from a place of strength and not by trying to improve on your weaknesses. We'll provide practical tips on how to choose a career path that fits you and why trying to change yourself for your career just doesn't work. Yeah, with that being said, Johan, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, and the opportunity that you're allowing me to talk to your audience and your clients out there. And I'm very excited about the topic. I had my own experiences over my life working for people and doing something that I really hate every morning. And by accident, get into a position and an occupation where I really loved doing what I was doing every day for that company, and stayed there for 27 years.
Sure. Thanks, Johan. What are we going to kick off first with today? An intro to Gallup. What's it about? Who are they? Is it just another personality assessment? What's it all about?
Well, Mark, I think that's a very good start, to start with what is Gallup and what is the Strengths Finder assessment. Gallup is an organization that is well known in the States for the polls and everything that they do there. The Strengths Finder assessment is something that was developed by a gentleman called Don Clifton. he was he was a student at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and after he completed his studies, he started a company where they did more research on what is the reason for people being successful in their occupation. And funny, what people don't know, the first research was from a life insurance industry. And I know that we are talking to many of your clients, and you are in the life insurance industry yourself. So that was where the first research started. And the question was, why do people don't stay in their occupation? And the research clearly point out that people stay in an occupation and they love what they do when they're operating from their strength. So that's where the research started in the early 50s. And the Strength Finder assessment was officially launched in 1999 as an assessment that you can do on the internet. And that was the start of exposing the rest of the world to what Don Clifton did and the research over all these many years. And I was exposed to the assessment in 2003 for the first time. Got my little code, did the assessment, got my results, and that was an eye-opener for me and a start of a new level in my career.
All right, so how is it not a personality assessment? What does it actually do? So if you had to do the full 34 assessment, what does that actually entail?
In the technical report from Gallup, it's clearly stated that the Strength Finder assessment is not a personality assessment. Because typically what we found from personality assessment, and there's nothing wrong in a personality assessment, but they will put you in a block. You're either green or blue or yellow or red or whatever they want to put you in. And that is not what you will see when you do the Clifton Strength Assessment. The uniqueness of the assessment is that when you look at your report, and this is really fascinating, that you will see when you look at your report that there's no one in the world out of 7.25 billion people who will have the same report. So it's quite unique, it's personalized just for you. And the feedback from people when they do the assessment is they can't believe how accurate the report is. So that's what you get from the report, but what's the information all about? It's pointing out to you your natural capabilities, your strength, and your talents at the end of the day. And it's ranked from your highest talent till your lowest talent. And that's what you will see in the assessment. So it's not a personality assessment. It's an assessment to tell and point out to you what is your natural capabilities, what are your talents.
And then is there a focus on your talents, so working from your natural strengths, or is there a focus to say, all right, so these are my strengths, but these are my weaknesses, so let me try and improve my weaknesses to make those strengths? I think naturally as human beings, we sort of look at ourselves and say, oh, if I'm weak in one area, how do I make myself better there so I can be better overall? Is that kind of how it works?
Mark, you're touching on a very important point, and that's typically what we are exposed to in the world is, I mean, from early days, when you're still a kid and young and in school and even in your university and maybe for the rest of your life, people tend automatically to look at the things that they struggle to do, and they want to better it or they want to fix it and things like that. And out of the research, it was clearly pointed out that when you try and fix weaknesses, yeah, you can increase it with a little bit, but the energy and the effort that you're going to put in there, the return that you're going to get is very, very low. So rather start focusing on those things that comes naturally for you. And we call it your strength, and put in the same energy and effort in there, and the returns is 10 times more when you do that. So This is one of the things that we point out to people, and in the coaching process, to help them to change their mindset from rather focus on your strength and manage around your weaknesses. Obviously, you can't ignore them, but rather put in more energy into those things that comes naturally for you. And I can use an example. If you've got a very strategic mindset, rather focus on that than trying to focus on something like communication that's very low for you. You're not a natural speaker. You will never become the world #1 motivational speaker. So don't focus on that. Focus on those things that comes naturally for you as a strategic mindset, and you're going to get much more return on your investment if you do that.
Okay, that makes sense. Maybe we should just put up the first poll and just get an understanding as to, if our audience is familiar with the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment. Have you taken it? Have you been introduced to it? Let's just run this for a little while and see what the results are. Marcus, just let us know how those responses are coming in there. Sure. Can you see that, Johan?
Yes, I can see it, and I'm not surprised to see that 80% of our people on the call today is not familiar with the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment. And I think the reason for that is looking at the audience in South Africa, I can only speak for them. Gallup is not very active in South Africa as a company, and I think that can be maybe one of the reasons people are not familiar with the assessment. From the information from Gallup, I know that about 150,000 people in total did the assessment in South Africa, and that's a very small percentage if you look at our population of just over 60 million. So yeah, it's not strange to see that people are not familiar with the assessment.
I think also quite exciting, right? Because like I wasn't familiar with this assessment until 2 years ago, but having gone through, done the assessment, done some work with you, you know, what you start to learn about yourself, it really uncovers everything. And it's like you constantly having these aha moments and that, wow, that's why I do the things I do. That's why I've sort of always done the things I do, and everything starts to make sense. So I look at it and say there's 80% of the people here today who've got this opportunity to sort of uncover who they inherently are. And the next little part we'll get onto now is how to use that in your career to build something which you, like you mentioned earlier, you love and you enjoy every day, and something that you'll ultimately thrive at.
Well, Mark, obviously, if you start understanding who you are from a strength-based perspective, meaning that you're rather going to start focusing on those strengths that you have, and you're going to manage around those weaknesses in a job or a career, that can make a big difference. The information and the research from Gallup clearly point out, and this is very sad, that less than 2 out of 10 people, in fact 17, only 17% of the people out in the world today are sitting in an occupation and doing something that they like, and they are energized while they are doing it. So the sad reality is that 8 out of 10 people are sitting in a job and they don't really like what they are doing. And the question is, okay, what now? How can we change it if that's the option, or what is the solution? And that is one of the main things that we focus on as coaches, to help people to get from that position from, I don't really like what I'm busy doing, my occupation to a point where I can say, you know what, I'm looking forward to a Monday morning going to job. And how many people can say that after a weekend? I'm looking forward to start Monday morning and do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and just before we get into that, we've got a question here from Katlejo. Says, is the Strengths Finder by Tom Roth?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Tom Roth, no, the Strengths Finder assessment is not developed by Tom Roth. Tom Roth is family of Dr. Don Clifton, but it's not developed by him. He's very well known. He worked for Gallup for many years, but he's not the inventor of the Strengths Finder assessment.
Okay. So let's look at this now, Johan, in terms of how to use the outcome of the Strengths Finder to take charge of your life and your career. You know, so that, yeah, you can, I think you said to wake up on a Monday morning and be happy about going to work. I don't know how many people feel like that. I certainly love what I do. And I think it's purely because I use my strengths every day in doing that. But how do you, where do you even start, right?
I think the starting point is to understand what is the basics of what we call development. If you want to develop yourself, what are the things that you have to be aware of if you want to do that? And I think the first thing of development is that you own your own development. You have to take charge of that. Your company is not going to take charge of that and trying from the beginning to develop you. It's your responsibility, and you have to take accountability for that. So own your own development. Put up your hand and say to yourself, I'm going to do it. And that's the first thing. The second point of development is it's something that you want to do and not someone else. That is important to keep that in mind. The third thing about development is you can't do it yourself. You're going to need some other people to help you, mentors and coaches and your friends. Start asking them to help you. And the other thing is look out for all those different opportunities. So make use of that. You can't do this all by yourself and think that you're going to succeed. And the third thing about development is you have to also take into account those weaknesses. Don't ignore them. Are they weaknesses that's there because you haven't got the talent for that? Or are it weaknesses because you haven't got the knowledge or the skills for that? So you have to take that into account. And the other thing is, if you look at development, is it your choice to do that? You choose to do that? Or do you feel that you should do it? There's a difference between the two. And obviously, if you look at development, is you're looking for results. You want results at the end of the day. Otherwise, why do you do it? So you have to take that into account. Those are the basic things if you just think about development as such.
So yeah, and just on that, a word that's coming up for me is awareness. So you haven't said it, but it's, you know, in order to take control of your own development, you need to be aware of what you want, right? So what you want from life, what you want from your career, what you want, just in terms of awareness, in terms of your strengths and your weaknesses. So you can almost get an understanding of where you need to operate. But without that initial awareness, you're unable to do that.
Mark, you're right there, and that's the next thing that we can talk about. There are 7 checkpoints that you can put down for yourself when you start looking at your career. And the first thing is be aware of your talents and your strengths. So assess your talents, know what it is, so that you can take that as a starting point. So yeah, it's very important to be aware of where are you and who are you, so that you can start that journey and start with the development and make sure that you build yourself a strength-based career path where you're going to be much more happier and fulfilled and successful at the end of the day.
And you touched on that you cannot be successful alone. And what do you mean by that? Like, do you need to, I don't know, how do you achieve success through other people, or what do you mean there?
What I mean by that, Mark, first of all, look out for mentors, people that can help you and can guide you. Ask for coaches to help you and support you. Ask your friends and your family. It's very lonely if you try and do everything yourself. And funny enough, if you start asking, you will find out there are a lot of people out there that are more than willingly to help you and support you in this new challenge that you have. So yeah, open up your diary and looking for people like mentors and coaches and friends and family to help you. That for sure is a good start.
You also touched on weaknesses, and I bring this up because in my experience, you can't ignore your weaknesses. I know the focus is not to try and make them better, but it's we are going to have to work from a place of weakness at times. So what do you recommend we do then?
There are many strategies that you could put in place, and for sure there are going to be some instances in your job where you don't have that natural capability. You have to analyze information, and you don't really have an analytical mindset. So you're going to struggle in that area. So what can you do? Again, look at the people that's with you in the team. Maybe there's someone else who's got a very analytical mindset. Rely on them. Ask other people to come and help you to do what you are supposed to do. The next thing to do is just put your head down and do what you are supposed to do. There's no other option than that. And funny enough, another strategy is maybe you just stop doing what you don't like doing. And funny enough, many times you will find out that people don't even recognize that you've stopped doing some of the things. So that is another strategy. Just stop doing it. People won't even pick it up.
Okay. So now if we're knowing this awareness about ourselves, the development, how do we actually put this stuff together in terms of mapping out a career path that fits me?
Okay, the first thing as a checkpoint when you look at your career is assess your talents. Move from your strength. You have to know what your talents and your strengths are. That's the first point to remember.
I guess that's kind of like awareness again, so understanding.
That again is the awareness. So that's your starting point if you look at your career. The second thing in looking at your career is consider all the possibilities out there. There are many different opportunities and roles in your organization and even different industries that you can look at. So consider all the different possibilities. Don't ignore them. The third thing that you must do is look at your own expectations. What is your expectations in your career? What do you want to get out of those different opportunities that's available out there? And once you've selected one or two of those possibilities, define very specific expectations for each one of those different roles. What are you looking for? The fourth thing that you can keep in mind is what we call consider your fit. Look at all the things, all the expectations in those different opportunities and roles, and see for yourself how many of those expectations in the role do you really have the natural capabilities and talents for, and you can really fit into that role. In some roles, you will find that you fit 80% in the role. In other roles, you will see that you only fit there 20%. So make sure, sometimes, I mean, in my own career, I had opportunities to move into a different role, into a different position, and once I've assessed all the expectations, I just realized I'm not going to fit into that role the way that I am busy fitting in what I'm doing now. And I said to the people, no, I'm not going to take that position. Rather give it to someone else. And that's a very difficult decision sometimes to do that. To say, no, I'm not going to do that. Give it to someone else. I'm happy in what I'm busy doing. And people struggle to do that.
Johan, before you move on there, we've got a question here from Andrew, which is very relevant. You know, he's saying you can go through this process, you can identify your strengths, and that's almost like the easy, the logical part of it, right? To understand who you are. So once you understand you are, you know, you want to match that up with an industry, with a company, but trying to find those roles in a specific company that fits you seems to be the tough part. What do you know, if you're doing it yourself, fine, but if you now need to match yourself up with a bigger organization, you know, what's your advice for doing that?
Mark, also a very good question, and important to remember that the Strength Finder assessment is not a selection tool. In other words, if you look at your combination of talents, it's not going to tell you that you must become an engineer or a lawyer or a nurse or a financial planner. That is not what the tool is doing. The tool and the report is pointing out to you, how are you going to do it? So we will find that different people will sit in the same occupation. They're all lawyers, but they've got different sets of talents. So what you will see is that those lawyers will do the work, each and every one in a different way. So when you get your results, you can look at your results and you can look at the job description and you say, okay, if this is one of the things that I have to do in this job, this is what I'm going to use doing it. This is the talent or the strength that will allow me to do that thing. So it's going to point out to you, how are you going to do the job? It's not going to point out to you that you should become a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse. That is not what the assessment is developed for.
So I think what you're saying is you kind of understand your talents, your strengths, and sometimes it's not going to help you find the, you know, golden key to your career, but you may find yourself in a corporate space and you need to thrive in that space, and you can then call on your strengths in terms of operating from those places to excel there. But is there not something about, I don't want to be here, right? I don't want to be doing this job. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, you know, you don't want to be doing this. So how do I use those strengths to get out, move forward into a different space?
What you will find if you've got that thing, I don't want to be here, you are drained, there's no energy, you don't want to get up in the morning to do the job. That is clearly a sign that what you are busy doing in your occupation is not something that energizes you. So the first thing that you will pick up when you start operating out of your strength, it will energize you. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of internal inspiration and motivation, and that is what you are looking for. The other thing that people must understand, a strength is not something that you are good in, and a weakness is something that you are weak in. That is not true. A strength is something that strengthens you. It energizes you. And a weakness is something that drains you. There's no energy. And why do we say that? Many people sit in an occupation today and they are fairly successful and good in that occupation, but they hate every minute of it. And you must be aware of that. The strength is something that strengthens you. There's energy. And a weakness is something that weakens you. And you're going to have to look for occupation and something that energizes you, that strengthens you most of the time, every day. That's where you want to operate.
Sure, Johan. We've got a tough one here from Caroline. She's addressed it to me, but I'm going to throw it to you. So she's saying, women in particular feel that they're not 100% adequate, not doing or working well enough, even though they may have better skills and better results than men who tend to be more confident or overconfident. So this then holds them back from reaching out to mentors and better opportunities. How can we overcome this?
Getting more confidence. The simple, straightforward answer I will give is the moment when you really start to understand who you are, meaning your strength and your talents, automatically your confidence will go up. That's what we see and experience with everyone. So start with yourself. Really know who you are. And that will up your confidence in such a way that you can say to people, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather do something else. And how do you pick it up? Again, if you are drained in the morning and you've got no energy, there's a reason for that. And sometimes it's difficult, I know, especially today. You can't just resign, and that's not what we're saying. But the way to overcome that is to start to volunteer for things in your occupation and your work environment where you know you've got the natural capability to do that. If you know that you like to communicate and they ask for someone to make a speech or to talk to new clients, volunteer for that. And slowly over time, you start to rewrite your job occupation in such a way that you are using your talents and your strengths more, and you start to up your confidence by doing that as well.
Yeah, maybe we should give an example of a few strengths, right? The different sort of categories or what they are, because we were talking a lot about operating from your strengths and kind of spending less time on your weaknesses, but what, we touched on what your top 5 are, but what do they actually mean? You can use mine if you want, because I'm thinking your answer makes sense, but so I must operate from a place of strength. So what is the strength, and how do I operate from that place?
Let's talk about what is a strength. A strength is your ability to consistently, very important, consistently produce a positive outcome, near perfect performance in a specific task. That is a strength. It's that consistent, positive production, doing something near perfect in a specific task. That is a strength.
Okay.
So that is a definition that you can use to see if you are operating out of your strength. What you will see in the report is your talents, and you're going to have to add knowledge and skills to that to develop it to your strength. And that's how you
maybe as an example. So one of my talents, strengths is futuristic. So it comes easily for me to look into the future and envisage things and how I want it to be for myself, and how, what the bigger picture looks like. If I take that into my workspace, my job, I guess helping clients to sort of look and see into the future as to what life could look like, painting that futuristic picture for them. I'm operating from a strength. It comes naturally to me. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. A lot of people can't see what's the bigger picture. We're stuck in what's going on now, and we don't know how to move forward. But working together, bringing my strengths and talents to help them see what the future could look like or what the bigger picture look like energizes me because I enjoy doing that work. I'm operating from a place of strength, and it adds value to the clients.
You're right there, Mark, and that's a very good example. But you are doing that because, first of all, you are aware of who you are. You've put in the time and energy to understand your talents and your strengths, and you become more aware of it. So now you start to apply it in your occupation as a financial planner. And one of the things that you have to do as a financial planner is to paint that picture and look into the future for your client. And that's why you start doing it with that talent and strength, and you are energized and you love doing that. And the same for any individual on the call. If you really start to understand who you are, and you start to become aware of it, you start to apply it in such a way that will energize you.
Okay, great. Do you want to carry on with your plan, kind of your development plan, your 7 checkpoints?
Yeah, there's some more other points that we have to take into consideration when we look at our development plan. The next thing is to have an action plan in place. In other words, don't just talk about it and dream about it. Set a time and a date to it and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to start doing what I'm supposed to do, and I want to see something happen at the end of the day. And along the way, look at people that can help you, take you by the hand, and see that you get to that point where you want to become a strength-based environment at the end of the day. Measure your performance. Also very important if you start building your strength-based plan, so that you can see that there's improvement. So always say to yourself, if I measure it, I can improve it. If you don't measure it, there's no way that you can improve it at the end of the day. And we find many people have got all these brilliant ideas and they want to do it, but there's no action. Nothing happens after that.
So to sum that up, yeah, the 7 sort of checkpoints is move or operate from a place of strength. So that's awareness. Consider the possibilities within your organization or your career path. Define the expectations for yourself. Consider your fit within the role that you're doing. Define an action plan. Build a constituency of people around you, and then measure your performance.
That's correct, Mark. If you stick to those different points, the chances is very good that you're going to get the results that you are looking for.
You know, putting it down like that, it sounds so simple, but you know, this is stuff that people struggle with their entire life. I think it's everybody's dream to wake up on a Monday morning and be like, yes, I'm going to work today, because they love what they do. But something like this doesn't just come easily, I'm assuming, right? It's going to be quite a commitment. What does that look like?
Mark, yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. You need a lot of commitment, and you need a lot of energy and drive to get to the end point at the end of the day. I always suggest for people when they want to do something like this, get yourself an accountability partner. That can be your life partner, that can be your best friend at work, or it can be a coach. Get someone that can help you on this path, your accountability partner. That's someone that can check up on you to say, okay, how's it going? Did you open up that thing that you said that you're going to do 2 weeks ago? Get an accountability partner. It makes it so much easier. It's like going to the gym. If you have to go to the gym in the beginning, it's easy when it's summer. But when winter comes, it's very difficult to get up 6 o'clock in the morning and go and do your exercises. But if your partner is knocking on the door, you're going to do it. Get an accountability partner, someone that can help you.
Yeah, and we've got a tough question yet to deal with, because it's yeah. Let me just read it. So it's from Robert. he's saying, how do we deal with the aspect that if you're not 100% unhappy in what you currently do, right? So you don't hate what you do. You don't love it either. You're sort of 50-50, but you feel there are better things out there for you, that you could be doing more than what you're currently doing now. How would you approach that?
Again, I will start with knowing yourself, and that 50% that you feel at this stage that you are happy in your job, if you can just up that by another 10% and make it 60% because of the knowledge that you acquire by knowing yourself, then you're going to feel better in the occupation. Start with yourself. The most important thing is start with yourself. Out of my experience of 18 years working and coaching people, I would say 90% of the people out there don't really know who they are. Really start with yourself. That is a very good starting point. And it's going to take time and energy to do that. But start with yourself. You're going to be surprised to find out who you really are if you really put in the time and effort to do that.
I think so. When you're saying start with yourself, it's in this setting we're saying take the assessment, understand your 34 talents, strengths, and then maybe if you go down those 7 points that you mentioned, start to consider the possibilities. So what is it about that you're currently doing that you enjoy doing? What is it that you don't enjoy? And now you're starting to build that action plan to say, okay, so I enjoy doing this, I don't enjoy doing this. And it sounds quite idealistic, but you really do have the power to, design what it is that you want to, knowing what it is about you that makes you happy, that makes you fulfilled, that gives you purpose in life. And then it's sort of taking those thoughts and that understanding and putting the plan together to say, great, so I enjoy this, I don't enjoy this. I'll go back to saying it sounds idealistic, but I look at it and say, if you had the opportunity to from a financial planning perspective, to build the perfect life, would you not do that? If somebody sat down and said, here we are, these are the steps we've got to follow, and at the end of it, you would be able to live the life that you want. We're not bringing that to a career perspective and saying the same thing. You've got the opportunity, everybody has the opportunity to build the perfect career, but you have to start with understanding yourself, knowing who you are, your talents, your lesser talents, and then putting a plan in place to sort of move forward.
Yeah, Mark, and another thing that we must remember, it doesn't mean that each and every day, 100% what you are doing must be something that you are satisfied with. The research point out, if you can up that to 30% of your activities every day allows you to operate out of your strength, you're going to start feeling much better, energized, more fulfilled, as low as 30% of your activities. So we're not talking about, okay, everything that I do today must be something that I love, as less as 30%. So that is not a big challenge. Get 30% of your activities and operate out of your strength in that, and you're going to start feeling much better about what you are doing every day.
All right. Johan, is there anything else you want to touch on? We've got 2 questions here, and then we'll sort of wrap up. Is there anything else you want to touch on from your side in terms of
Nothing
the
from
career
my
plan?
side, Mark. We can address the 2 questions.
All right. So this is quite specific. Katlego is saying he's done the assessment. His strengths are adaptability, developer, empathy, restorative, and woo. And he would like to understand how he applies these to his business life. Is that kind of too specific, or would you? Is it kind of like a one-on-one conversation?
What I would say to this gentleman is go back to the Gallup website. There's a lot of extra resources that's been put on the website. I don't know when you did the assessment, But if it was a couple of years ago, you're going to be surprised to see what is all the resources on the website. Go and play around there. The next suggestion that I would make is start looking at opening up the rest of the assessment, the 34 talents. The reality is, and there's nothing wrong with it, the top 5 is only 15% of who you are. There's a lot more that you haven't discovered. And maybe that can be a goal or challenge for yourself to say, okay, I'm going to open up the rest of the assessment so that I can see what is talent number 6, what is talent number 15, and what is talent number 34. And play around with all the resources on the website. That is a good start. And if you want to take it further than that, how to apply it, look at someone else as a coach who are well trained in the assessment to help you with that.
Thanks, Johan. Yeah, look, before we close, if there are any other questions, please shoot them through to the Q&A. We've got 10 minutes left, so we can jump into those. Yeah, otherwise, if that's it, then we'll wrap it up. Johan, thanks so much for your time today. It's been great. I feel I learned something new from you every time, so thank you for that. For those who've attended and who would like to learn more, we recommend to start with taking the initial top 5 assessment, understand those top 5 talents and strengths, and then play around on the Gallup website. There's loads of information available for free. There's little assessments you can do to better understand yourself, and just create that foundation of awareness of who you are. Once you've sort of done that, then we recommend to get in touch with a coach, a Gallup certified coach, someone like Johan. He's got all the coaching qualifications behind him, and you really want to work with a professional in this field, because it's understanding yourself is a massive thing, and it's a big undertaking. But once you get it right, the possibilities are sort of endless going forward. We'll see there, Marcus has shared Johan's details in the chat section. We'll also include it in the follow-up email that we'll send through to you along with the recording. And I hope we've been able to add a bit of value to everyone's morning today. From a lifestyle financial planning perspective, I take my clients through this process. We like to help them get a better understanding of who they are. It helps me get a better understanding of who they are, and knowing that information about each other enables me to help them build the life that they want and deserve, and more importantly, one that they're able to achieve. So yeah, it's been massively helpful in my business. Yeah, Johan, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And yeah, thanks everybody. If there's nothing else, I think we will be signing off. All right.